Sup, and welcome to another Library Chest Productions movie review. And this time, I'm going to be reviewing Avengers Infinity War. I got Cloud, this is for you, Justin, and let's do this. 10 years in the making, and it's hard to believe that it's finally here, but does it live up to the hype? Does it live up to the excitement? Does it live up to everything? Yes. Yes, it does. Honestly, this movie gave me everything that I wanted from it. And one of the fears that people had was, could a movie with so many characters use its characters efficiently? Because, this movie doesn't need to build elaborate backstories for its characters, except for Thanos, more on that in a second. Because they've already done the work. They've already put the effort in to build these characters, so this is just a culmination of that. So anytime you see the characters on screen, it's like, yeah, there they are. And obviously there's some personal bias, and I think everybody probably experiences this. There's some personal bias there where there's certain characters I would have liked to have seen more of, like Rocket Raccoon, but then at the same time you kind of understand why him in particular, he's not as big a deal. But, everyone has their favorite comic book characters and superhero movie characters, so that's also not a criticism of the movie. And of course, the action was a lot of fun. It was cool to see the blending of styles. I mean, we've seen this before, but it's always neat to see them all implemented together and how they balance and interact with each other. And those were some quick points I want to make, but really I have three key points that I want to spend the most time on. Even though one's a little weird, I'll get that one out of the way because it's really specific to me. Well, I mean, people might agree, but it's in comparison to the other two, it seems a little silly. So let's get the weird one out of the way first. Drax. Drax in Guardians 1 was quite funny. Not the funniest, but pretty funny. Drax in Guardians 2 was exhausting. They leaned on him so heavy, and his jokes just didn't work most of the time. They worked occasionally because if you throw enough jokes at people, then eventually one or two will stick. But in Infinity War, he was on point. Now, there was one little joke that I thought went on too long, but then the bookend of it it was a good payoff, so I'm forgiving of that too. But yeah, that's the weird one. Drax was actually quite good, and he was like a problem I had with Guardians 2. So now on to the important ones. A lot of people feel, myself included, that the MCU has a villain problem. I'm more forgiving of it because I understand that the movies are focused on the heroes and the villains are not going to stick around, so they don't spend as much time building them. However, in the case of something like Black Panther, you see the benefits of actually building a villain. And honestly, they haven't done that a lot throughout the entire series. As much as I adore the superhero genre, I guess we can call it now, and as much as other people adore it, that's a single criticism that a lot of people have. With Thanos, that is not a criticism you can lay on it. Before the movie even came out, they said that this was like a Thanos movie. It was like a character study of Thanos. And it was. It definitely was. He is the most engaging villain that they've had. And you can't even say, well, they've been building him for movies, because they've touched on him for sure. They've shown him a few times. But in Infinity War, they've built a character that you don't necessarily feel for him because he's still kind of not crazy. Crazy isn't the word, but he has his own ways about him. But at the same time, he's part of like some of the better villains in the sense of he has his plan, and it's not just, oh, I'm evil, I want to destroy everything. Which, by the way, I'm okay with once in a while. That's fine. Not every movie needs a complex villain. They can just be deliciously evil. But Thanos actually does have a fairly logical, I guess, reason for what he's doing. And it's always cool when there's like a talking point to what a villain is doing. Like, you may not agree, but you can understand what they're doing. And it also helps that Thanos actually does deal with some emotional stuff. They don't get too caught up in it, but they do a good job of showcasing him as more than just like the Mad Titan. And of course, Josh Brolin, as he always does, brings his character to life wonderfully. And everyone else in the movie also does a really good job, but we've come to expect these people playing their characters, so we know they're going to put in good work. Now, the other issue that I would like to tackle before I end this is that the MCU also has a problem with feeling like there's no stakes. I'm not going to hamper on about DC, but one thing I have liked about DC is that it does feel like something bad is truly going to happen. And the MCU never really had that. But at the same time, I'm okay with it. I approach these as fun popcorn movies that occasionally have something to say but are always exciting, even if I know that Captain America or Iron Man or Thor, whoever's not going to die leading up to Infinity War, because that would be silly to kill off your biggest heroes right before the big thing. I mean, that would take balls, and I'd respect it, but it would probably be a bad move. But with that said, you have to fool your audience into, at least briefly, believing that something bad might happen to him, and the MCU doesn't really do that. So then Infinity War is really daring in that regard. I don't think it's spoilers to say that people die, because everyone knows that people die. I'm not going to say who dies, but from the opening moments, there's that feeling of something bad's going to happen. So it's really cool to see an MCU movie that actually does an incredibly good job of making you fearful for their lives. So basically what I'm saying is, you take away two of the main flaws of the MCU, you correct them, and you have an amazing movie. One last thing I want to touch on before I give my official rating and then kick it to Castle for his review, is that there was one scene, I'm not going to say when it is, what it is, so don't worry, it's not spoilers, but I can't review it without mentioning it. It's just a scene, I love it. It's probably the best thing the MCU has ever done, honestly. It's so somber and quiet and beautiful and perfect. I don't often leave MCU movies thinking about them. I think, oh, that was really cool. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. I think all that stuff because I love superhero movies and I don't feel the fatigue. But this one has stuck with me. I thought about it on the way home. I'm thinking about it now. And, for as great as the Marvel movies have been, they don't have that kind of impact on me usually. So for all these reasons, I am quoting it on the daily. That's right, the highest rating that LCP can give. And I am bestowing this upon this movie. And it definitely needs my help because it's not going to make any money whatsoever. Quoting it on the daily because it is bombastic, it is exciting, it is so entertaining. It's a movie that delivers on all its promises. And it's a movie that honestly, when it was over, I was like, oh crap, it's over. Like, it went 2.5 hours went by so fast. It didn't feel overstuffed or anything whatsoever. So now that you know what I think, we're going to get out of here. But of course, as always, I'm going to pass it to Castle, the best Bundy critic in the biz. See ya. Hey, let's get right in there. What did you think of Infinity War?